I may have accidentally found the best base Russ has ever seen. This impossible to door camp full sheet metal base offering a spacious yet well protected inside is safe from... Oh, well looks like we're going back to the drawing board. In Rust, there are some base designs you just don't need to know, but there are some that everyone should know. Whether you're a new player just starting on your Rust experience, or a veteran that's well adjusted in their travels, everyone has seen one of these in their time, right? But is it good? In this video, I'm going to show you how to build this classic base design. We're also going to go over its strengths, its weaknesses, and some things I think could be added to it. With plans to build a huge compound, you usually see a base like this built on very flat terrain, like this ice lake here. The first stage is to build the initial 3x3. We'll put a single door frame here and surround this entire 3x3 with stone walls. Raid-wise, an armored door is the same cost as stone walls, so we use one here. You could use a sheet metal door for now if you have to. The TC goes on the opposite corner of the front door, like this. Now we'll simultaneously section off our TC room and create an elevator entrance with these two walls. Yeah, looking back, these two walls are backwards. Both hard sides need to face inwards here. Now you can either flip these around now or flip them when you upgrade later. Next we'll add 8 square roof sections. You want to close the entire base doing this, except for this one right here. On this one we'll add a half floor to jump on and a wall frame for a door. We'll come up to the roof where we can add a temporary twig triangle to place this wall easily and demolish the triangle after. Put one wall on either side and a roof on top. Use a wall frame here for our first garage door. Once again, you can use a sheet metal door in this slot for the time being if you need to. If we come back to the ground floor, we can add a garage door here. If you have one garage door only, this one is way more important than the one on top. With the ladder over the front door, firing 4 rockets into this spot here will take out 3 roof tiles and the garage door. Some explosive ammo at the end allows you to take TC and secure it. Suffice to say, this is a pretty cheap raid. Now it won't be easy with the usual 10 plus people inside there, but it does only cost like 4 rockets, so let's upgrade. So let's section off this space and start adding in things that we need. First place is underneath the elevator. We can place a large box in each of the corners. We can then take a repair bench and place it in front and still be able to access the boxes. Next we'll place the workbench level 2 in the middle of the wall, opposite of the TC. Next for the TC room, we'll add a triangle through the middle. Add a wall frame to the front and make sure you upgrade it to sheet metal. We'll throw on a garage door and we're ready for storage. We're going to place 3 boxes on the bottom. The first goes in the back like this. The second one is a bit tougher but has to be very close to the wall behind it. If done correctly, you can place the third box in this orientation. Grab yourself 2 more large boxes and jump up here. The first one goes in the back and you want to get it as far back as you can. The second one goes in the same spot as the one below it, but it doesn't have to be placed as perfectly. This is a basic loot room with TC setup, which we will come back to later. And nothing should show through this door. Next we'll use 2 walls to section off floor 1. These will be for loot rooms, so we want shelves through both of them. Usually there is 2 large boxes on top and 2 large boxes on the bottom of each of these loot rooms. For a large group, this is usually the time for heavy farming and gearing up for a battle. There is no shortage of space now, so a simple loot room is more than enough for the time being. Now don't worry, we will definitely be upgrading these loot rooms. So which loot room design do you think would fit best in this space? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Next we'll put up wall frames on all of the unoccupied sockets. There will be a total of 6 and you can use an armored double door next to the front door if you want. You can put a loot room here at this time if you wish to. Using garage doors on all these wall frames I believe is the best option. With many people traversing this area, it's best to have the wide open space garage doors offer you. A final door goes here, which will be our small furnace room very shortly. You can also place sleeping bags up through this hall until you expand. An easy furnace room is 1 furnace in each corner, 1 in the middle pushed back as far as you can get it, another 1 in each corner, another 1 in the middle, and a final 2 in each corner. This gives you 8 furnaces inside this 1x1 that you can access from up here, and none of them stick through the garage door. Once you have the first floor looking like this, and if I could pull off some improv magic, upgrading it all to sheet metal is the last step. This includes all the pieces built up until this point. To raid, ladder over the front door, but it won't help you in this case. 4C4 on the side in the middle is the best option here. 4 rockets in the middle of the floor will give you the TC and 1 loot room. 4 more rockets gives you the elevator and another loot room. The last 4 rockets gives you the furnace room and access to the front door. That's a total of 12 rockets and 4 C4, so the raid cost is roughly 25,600 sulfur at this point, but we ain't done. The next step is to expand in 2 different ways. The first by adding foundations around our entire 3x3. If you choose to add high external walls around your perimeter now, that's fine. Just account for this expansion ahead of time. We'll put up our first door right here. We use 2 doors on opposite sides of each other to ensure we have multiple exits. This will protect us from door campers and/or an online raid. Auburn doors are once again the best option here. When choosing where to put the doors, make sure it doesn't line up with where the TC room is or where the front entrance is. Next, we can bring the outside ring up 1 more level. You can do this from up here or from the ground floor. Doing this adds to the outer honeycomb ring of the base. Now, depending on what materials you have available to you at this time, you may choose to upgrade this to sheet metal right away instead of stone, which would be perfectly fine. Now we can enclose the second floor of the 3x3 with stone. Once again, you can use sheet metal here to skip the stone grade. Sheet metal is the final grade for this area. Next, we'll add 2 walls here with hard side facing in for our elevator. A half wall here allows us to add 3 floor tiles, 2 of which we can use in our loot rooms. We'll break this, add a wall frame here, and finish our roof. I know there's a lot going on right now. It's hard to replicate the exact progression here. The goal is to execute the expansions in a time-efficient order, not necessarily a step-by-step one. We can jump up here, add a twig triangle to add this wall. We'll add sides, a door frame, and add a ceiling. Now we can put up garage door and get rid of this triangle. We'll secure with this garage door on the floor below. The base should look like this at this point. Don't worry about the open roof, it will be closed very soon. Now if you have enough storage, you can use these 2 rooms for anything you need. Bedrooms, locker rooms, or electrical rooms. For this video, I will use them as loot rooms just for simplicity. I like to put the level 3 workbench on this side here. Next we'll place wall frames in front of each of the rooms and 2 in the middle of the hallway. Again, garage doors are probably your best choice here. It will take a total of 6. The ones in front of the loot rooms should always be facing the middle of the base to avoid boxes and stuff sticking through them. The middle 2 don't actually matter. Once you have all the doors up, we're ready to do more expanding. The third floor is an exact copy of the second, so in effort not to waste your time, I'll build it in this time lapse. Once again, all of the rooms up here are for personalization. I like the idea of putting beds and the electrical room on this floor. It should be said that most groups will raid this type of base through the first and second floor walls, so hiding some precious loot up here may be a good idea in the end. You could even do something cheeky, like move TC up here. Now let's start working on our peak downs. We'll start with the square on each one of the corners. We'll put a triangle in the middle, a triangle on each side of it, and the last 2 triangles off the square parts. Repeat this sequence for all 4 sides. In order to get to this last one here, you may have to do a little tightrope walk on the edge. Now we can enclose this entire floor. We'll start in one of the corners. The easiest way I found to putting a wall in the right sockets here is to walk sideways and close to the edge like this. It's actually a pretty consistent way of doing it. Once you get to this point, there is a very good chance another clan has spotted this progression, so upgrading right to sheet metal if you can at this point would be ideal. Now we can add another elevator, which will take us up to the roof defense floor. More on that in a little bit. Once we have our way up, we can enclose the peek down room with a full ceiling. We'll finish this floor by adding our roof access point on top. If you're unfamiliar with peek downs, this is what they're used for. They give you an immediate height advantage over raiders and give you countless angles to stop an online raid. But as it turns out, you can fit through these gaps, so laddering up is a real possibility. So let's go ahead and secure this floor. We can do this by adding 5 wall frames to each side, basically bordering our original 3x3. In the middle 2 slots is where your doors will go. You can use armored here for more durability if you need. In all the remaining slots, we can use shop fronts. This will allow us to see if our peek downs have been compromised while maintaining a decent raid cost. I personally also like to add 2 wall frames here for garage doors, just to deny access to the elevator section should this floor fall under enemy control. If you choose to do this, face the garage doors out so rockets cannot splash the 2 inside doors. Now for our roof defense. Starting in the middle of each side, we'll place a square. Then build 4 triangles down each side of it like this. You want to repeat this step for each side. If done correctly, it should look exactly like this. Next we'll add in single door frames. You'll want them all to be on the right side of each of the gaps on the floor. It's important they are all in this orientation so that the doors swing the right way when we put them in. If you're unfamiliar with this roofing style, the idea behind it is there will be many gaps in the floor, which similar to the peek downs gives you a height advantage while maintaining space to fall back. This is where you can defend the breach in your high external walls. There will be a total of 12 doors here, and this is what it should look like. Now we can quickly add in our final elevator. If you don't want access atop this defense floor, that is fine, just skip this step. But with such a huge roof and helis being the meta, it would almost be a tragedy not to take advantage of all that space up there. Now we can add in these roof tiles above our 3x3. Next we'll use wall frames around our 3x3 once again. This is vital because without them, there won't be enough stability to finish the roof. Once we get all of those in, we can go a bit bigger. We'll once again use wall frames and build a perimeter of them around the 5x5 footprint. If you're building wall frames on triangles, you're doing something wrong. This once again is crucial for stability, but it's very cheap to do. With that complete, we can start adding in window frames. We want one of these on each of the outmost parts of the roof. Now this is a very effective roof design. Although I would say it's more traditional than cutting edge, I am curious what roof design you would use on a base like this. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Once that is complete, we can fill in all of the squares left above our heads in the 5x5. At this point in the build, this is an absolute behemoth of a base. A base of this size will attract most of the big groups on the server. To be honest, they've been farming for about 3 hours already to raid you. Once the roof is done, we're going to fill in the area above each of the peek downs. Now while doing this, it's very important to replicate the pieces on the floor perfectly. You'll see why in just a second. Now for the doors. You can use armored here if you have the materials, but sheet doors can work just fine here. It's important to keep them open and locked at all times. The idea behind these doors is it gives you the peek downs while blocking free entry from above or below. Apply this to every door frame up here, which should cover every gap in your floors. With some high-speed window spam, some garage doors here, and shop fronts similar to the peek down floor, our roof is done. These garage doors and shop fronts are totally optional. I do like to add them in just in case raiders choose to take your roof peek downs, you still have some means of defense up there. Now look at this thing, it's an absolute monster of a base. If you didn't recognize what we were building up until this point, I bet you do now. Wow, this thing is just so big. I've heard that before. Now the final upgrade will only be achievable by the most dedicated of groups. That would be sheet metaling the whole thing. That is except for the first floor though, that will be all HQM. This may seem like an impossible task, and for most, it will be. For demonstration purposes of this video, I'm trying to get the most out of this base, and for dedicated groups, this honestly is not even that big of a task. Now, to raid. First thing, you'll definitely either want to take their defense floor or smoke it off like shown here. Next, 8 rockets into the 4 walls next to the door, but not including the door. This will give you access to the honeycomb. There will be a ton of resistance at this point, as well as dealing with auto turrets and traps. I'm only trying to show the exact raid path in the video. 8 more rockets aimed into 4 walls between the first and second floor will expose 2 rooms on the second floor. Depending on which side you breach, these will contain different items. 7 additional rockets aimed to take out the 2 half-health HQM walls will expose our first 2 rooms on the first level. You may get lucky here and find TC, if not, keep blowing into the center. Once in the center of the core, rocket out all garage doors around the edge until you find TC. Only break TC when you have a teammate ready to place another one immediately. If your teammate fails at this, the enemy will not. This is a race to win the raid. The rest of the raid is easy. You want to blow up through the elevator, and when you reach a new floor, blow out in both directions until all the loot rooms are open. Remember that on the second floor there is already a hole showing some of the loot rooms. No reason to waste rockets on something you already have access to. Also, break any sleeping bags as soon as you get to them. This raid is obviously a big one, so expect resistance around every corner. Once you get to the third floor, there will be no more loot rooms above. I would most likely stop blowing at this point, but if you believe they are moving loot on their bodies or have valuable items above this floor, then you do you. The game should be fun. The route that I took used 63 rockets and about 2 stacks of explosive ammo. This is roughly 94,600 sulfur, and this path reveals everything inside of the base. But let's be real, raiding a base of this size would be more about the fun and the massive PvP that would take place. GG. So what would I add to this? Honestly, not much. I do feel that adding sheet metal triangles around the entire thing, at least on the first 2 floors, would be justified here. It would be much harder to breach, and it would provide more time for you and your team to figure out how to defend the raid. Now adding a couple of armored doors on the front would stop any ideas of raiders going through doors, but let's be real, they ain't going through doors. I must say, since this is a square base, I thought there would be a lot of room for improvement and making things much more efficient. But honestly, I'm shocked. There are so many angles to defend from, starting at the roof, the peak downs, and on every floor, every room could be used as an angle to defend from. You could make the loot rooms more efficient, I guess, but there is more storage in a space than you'll ever need. So I really hope that you enjoyed the video, or at least have learned a thing or two about this base design, and or how to raid it. If you have anything to add, please do so in the comments below. See you there.